What's up, Chris?
Welcome. Welcome to On the Rocks, the On the Rocks podcast, our podcast where we talk about accounting and accounting adjacent information, mostly as it relates to e-commerce, but not only. Like you mentioned, Jay, I'm Chris Gino, and I'm here with my co-host. That's you, Jay Kimmelman. Last week, welcome to On the Rocks. Do you hear that echo, Jay?
No, it's
Oh,
there,
you're
right
listening
there.
to
It's
us
playing it.
live.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
It's
We're live. Love it.
there. You go. We are really live.
That's fantastic. Well, that's fun, and it'll echo into forever. But
No,
but
it
that's
won't echo
that's
any
great.
longer.
That's good. Good. Last week we talked about a variety of financial metrics, KPIs, and other things which are important to know and to be aware of. Today we're going to talk about a topic that's not really accounting or e-commerce related directly, but it impacts both industries in significant ways. That's burnout. We're right at the end of the first tax deadline, and so I've seen lots of posts about this. Thought it was really relevant today. Thought it'd be a fun, interesting thing to talk about. So we'll talk about what burnout is. We'll talk about how it can happen. We'll talk about things you can do to help you and your team to recover from it or to avoid it altogether. So let's call it retail therapy, but not like you think. Um, but first, what happened this week? I know you've been traveling, Jay. Did you even get to watch NASCAR this weekend?
You know what? I spent last Sunday packing, getting ready for this trip. Yeah, I got on a 7 a.m. flight Monday to Phoenix. I'm actually here in the High Rock offices today. I was at a client
Oh,
all week
shout out.
working on a implementation of their ERP, and yeah, things are moving really well there. Um, but
Great.
yeah, the best thing though is because I'm in Phoenix and it's race weekend, I got 2 full days of NASCAR action ahead of me the next 2 days, so I'm really excited before I
Oh,
get to
there
come
we
home.
go.
Yeah.
There we go. I'll make sure to put that on the follow up list
Oh
for
yeah,
next weekend.
for sure.
Um,
But the big thing that happened this weekend, and I don't know if I've ever said this in this to this audience, but my daughter has had a long-standing iron deficiency for about 3 years now, and we've
yeah.
seen doctor after doctor. We don't know why it's happening, but we finally got to see a hematologist that prescribed her an iron infusion. It got approved. It kind of got approved by the insurance company. Had to jump through a couple more hoops,
Great.
but as of right now, I could
Yeah.
say her iron infusion is complete, and she's on her way home with her mother. So
That's a
yeah, this is
fantastic.
gonna be awesome.
Love to
Yeah,
hear that.
and
Love
this is
to
a
hear that.
great weekend for it because she's. I mean, it's not going to really have an impact on her, but she's got one of her last regional dance competitions this weekend, and she's going to be exhausted regardless because her first two dances of this competition are tomorrow night at 10 and 10:30.
Oh my word, yeah. I did not know that
Yes.
dance competitions went that late. Yikes.
Well, when dance competitions are money grabs, yeah, they go that late. It's all about the number of entries because they get paid per entry. So,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Interesting.
that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well that does make sense. Yikes.
But,
But that's
the
exciting
one
though.
that the dance competition that really matters is the weekend before tax deadline, and
Hmm.
that's where she has to qualify her dances, and it is 4 weeks away. Yeah, maybe four, maybe
Yeah.
5 weeks, and the iron infusion takes 3 to 4 weeks to take effect. So I am
Ooh,
hoping
perfect
that
timing.
it's in full effect when she has that competition and she qualifies her dances for nationals. So yeah, it's
That'll
exciting. I'm really
that'll be
happy for
awesome.
her.
Great.
Yep.
I love it. Love to hear it. That's super exciting. Um, in less exciting news, or at least certainly less personally exciting news, one of the things that I saw this week was that the Alabama federal court they've ruled the Corporate Transparency Act unconstitutional. For those of you that might not be aware, the Corporate Transparency Act is the act that was passed in Congress that required BOI reporting, I think we talked about on our very first episode. Um,
Correct.
and and Jay, I don't know about you, but I have no idea how this would impact BOI reporting right now because with a lot of things that go through the courts, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? Do you have any
Right.
thoughts or feelings on that?
So did you say Alabama court or a federal court in Alabama?
It was a federal court in
Federal court.
Alabama.
So I
Yeah.
would say this will probably hit the Supreme Court some
Yeah.
point. It's going to have to be appealed, and probably the latter half of the year, it's going to have to hit the Supreme Court, which probably won't release that decision until December. So I say
Mm.
file it. I mean, the whole point of a BOI report is to disclose who owns a company. Most of, I
Right.
mean, yeah, I mean, those companies that are established in Delaware, Nevada, yeah, there's some protections. But overall, I mean, it's not that bad to have to file that. I mean, I know
Okay.
as a serial entrepreneur, I can count that I have about 9 of those I have to file this year. So, yeah. So
Yeah, so
I
consider
don't
it, right? Got
see,
it.
yeah, I don't see any resolution to that. So you're gonna have to file it anyway.
Yeah, got it. Got it. Got it. Um, so that's a thing to be thoughtful of for sure. There obviously, like you mentioned, there may come some different impact down the line, but it might be a while before we know that. And until that's resolved, it's probably best to go ahead and attempt to follow the rules.
Yeah,
And again, like you said, it's an ownership summary. It's not. It isn't. It shouldn't be too pervasive or invasive. So hopefully not that big of a deal. One
and
one other thing. Oh yeah, go ahead, Jay.
I was just gonna say, if you file it yourself, I don't even think there's a charge for it,
Oh,
which you
so it
have to
doesn't
go
even
through.
cost any money. Yeah, that
I don't
makes it
even
real
think it
easy.
costs something. If you go through a service, which we as accountants can't do it because it's not an accounting or tax form; it's a legal form. So accountants can't do
Mm.
it because it's the practice of law, which we are not. So we have a service that does it for us and our clients that don't want to do it, and it's a very reasonable cost, I believe. But I mean, if you
Yeah.
want to do it yourself, it probably takes less than 30 minutes to do it.
Oh yeah. There you go. Then definitely worth getting it
Yeah,
taken care of,
for sure.
just in case. Just in case. One other thing that I saw in the news as I was just reading up on things that happened, um, and this probably matters to nobody except for me. I might be the only person in the world that cares about this. But I saw a report that Mazars, you may recognize the name. I think they were doing some work around some of the stuff we talked about 2 weeks ago, maybe
Yep,
around the Trump organization compilations and stuff. But
yep.
Mazars actually issued an adverse opinion, a real life adverse opinion. I thought those things were like unicorns because because in assurance, issuing an adverse opinion, what that tells the users of the financial statements is that the information in the financial statements is not reliable, like it's materially wrong, and or you couldn't get enough information because or whatever. It's just definitely not the right and accurate information. And so most of the
Hmm.
time, companies would never issue this type of opinion. You would just withdraw from the engagement. You would just quit
Right,
and say,
right.
"Look, we're just going to disagree here." And so in my career, I've only even seen just a few qualified opinions issued, and typically those are like related to limited scopes. You couldn't observe the opening inventory balance because you
Right.
were engaged after the beginning of the year or something like that. Um, and so it is really unusual to see an adverse opinion. And so it was seeing that it was an article I think on Financial Times, and so seeing an article where there was an actual adverse opinion, and especially by a company whose name I recognized, that was wild to me. I still can't believe it. That just never happens. So pretty crazy. Jay, did you see anything else in the news this week?
I didn't see anything about a tax update. Senate hasn't
Yeah,
touched it,
yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that, but I knew that was gonna be the answer. So
Yeah,
just
not much
wait,
else.
we'll just keep waiting.
I was really head down this week, and putting in a lot of
Yeah,
hours on this ERP
sure.
implementation, and yeah,
Yeah,
but
all good. Totally makes sense. Not, I mean, it's also the week before our tax deadline, and so I'm sure that can be a busy time too, for a
and
lot of our tax partners out there.
And I want to
Text
know why
brethren.
my phone is on Do Not Disturb, yet it just rang twice.
Uh, you'll have to
Crazy.
take that up with Apple or um,
Yeah,
whoever, because
I'm
I
going to
don't know
take
the
that up.
answer to
Yeah,
that either.
yeah, crazy.
I didn't see much else in the news this week as I was looking. Nothing that struck my attention anyway, except for exactly what I was talking about before. Is there? I saw lots of articles or lots of tweets, really, or whatever they're called now. X's, no, probably not that. Whatever they're called now. I saw a whole variety of those about people who are starting to really feel the impacts of burnout and all those things. So before we get to that discussion, I don't know if you do, but I do have a beer today. This is the G IPA, not to be confused with the G wagon. It's a German, it's a German style IPA, and it's brewed by Allstott Brewery, who's
Oh,
in
okay.
South Texas. I love their beers, and actually had some interaction with them on the internet around the September October time because I was trying to find their Oktoberfest. I like a lot of their different beers. This will be the first time I've had their German style IPA, their GIPA.
Nice.
But I'm excited to see what it's like. Jay, I know you're in our office, and it's like whatever 1:30 or something, so it's probably not beer time for
It's
you.
it's about 3 o'clock right now,
Almost
and
two,
I actually
three.
had a
Okay.
bourbon and coke a little while before we started this. So yeah,
Mm,
I'm good.
nice lunch beverage. All right,
I,
wonderful.
I
Love to
do
hear
have my
that.
water here with me though, so
Yep.
there you go.
All right, there you go. That's good. Hydration is important in one way or another. So
Most
wonderful.
definitely.
All right. So while I
So
finish pouring this, well, go ahead, Jay.
I find it interesting you brought up burnout because you're
Yeah.
probably aware I was feeling a bit of that about 2 weeks ago, and for about 2 weeks
Yep.
I was a little overwhelmed, and I gotta
Yeah.
say, um, working on an ERP implementation during tax season, managing tax, reviewing tax returns, and you're sitting there doing some of that work, and yet every device is pinging, and you get like 3 or 4 incoming Teams messages, and you got emails coming in, your phone's ringing. It's like it just got to me, and it's
Yeah.
like, all right, this is it. I had to stop what I was doing that day, and I had a few more. Actually, I had a meeting that I canceled. I said I can't do this today, and I walked away
Yeah.
and reset. And since then, I've made sure that well, we'll get into some remedies afterwards. But I mean, it's very relative
Yeah.
because I know I was feeling it, and I am well past it now, and I feel much better, and things are so much better. So we can work on that, but let's jump in a little deeper now.
Yeah, sure. So burnout's a term that I hear get talked about a lot. It's a term that has a negative connotation with it, right? People know it as something negative, but I just wanted to first take a quick second to talk about what is burnout? What does that even mean? Feels like
Okay, Chris, what's going on there?
the
Oh wait,
oh,
he's
am I
back.
frozen?
You're back.
Oh,
Okay, there you go. I
it
thought
was
I thought we
me.
had another BSD.
I did not this time. Just frozen, I guess. So, Bert, so all that to say, to re-say, I guess, burnout to me um, is it is a feeling of overwhelm, Jay, and I think that's exactly the way that you described it when you were talking about your own experiences. You feel like there are so many things to do that you can't get relief from it, and that you're not able to do the things that you enjoy or to do the things that bring you joy. Um, and it makes you sad, it makes you upset, it makes you um, you know generally depressed, or just once makes you consider like what are the other working options that I have here, like what other choices do I have.
Right.
Um, And it impacts accountants. Like that's the only way I'd really ever thought about it or heard about it. Like it is very easy in traditional public accounting to get burnout because your employer is typically asking you to work a lot. And when you're working a lot and working on weekends, you don't have so much time for yourself. You don't have time to really focus on anything else. And so there's there's loads of issues that can come along with that, right? Loads of problems that come out of that. But burnout also impacts e-commerce entity owners and the e-commerce space as well. And truly for entrepreneurs, it's a huge impact because you're often the person who is managing, funneling, doing everything around your business. It's so the concept is very similar in that you're thinking day to day, hour to hour about how your business is working, what's going on in your business. And it is very easy for all of those decisions to overwhelm you, to run you into decision fatigue, to make you make decisions where you're looking at your phone at night instead of spending time with your family because you want to make sure a certain order shipped and that you're not running out of product and all of the things that go along with this, that you have enough cash flow to pay your payroll. Like there are so many things that you worry about as a entrepreneur and business owner.
And
And
there are things
and so
that you probably let go as well, like worrying that your books are closed to file your taxes. You know,
that's
so
right.
there's
Right.
other things involved there as well.
Yeah, and so burnout can be extremely relevant to both accounting professionals and e-commerce entrepreneurs. And so it does actually it makes a very relevant and very real cross section of the population of people that we're looking to talk to today. So one of the reasons that it's so front of mind right now, I think, is that we're still working through the outputs of COVID time because that time segregated us. It changed the way that we're looking at our environment generally. And for a lot of e-commerce practices, it changed the way that you're running your business to some degree. It means you know more about where you can where you can send your products, how you can send your products. For accounting professionals, it completely changes the dynamic of how a traditional accounting firm worked because now it's very clear to everyone that you don't have to be in the office to get work done because no one was for a while. And so it changes. And especially for me, like I think that this is like for people who are fully remote and completely remote from the rest of their teammates, it can make that situation very difficult because it can be difficult to distinguish here's my workspace and here's my family space or my personal space. And so all of those things start to blend together, which can drive this same burnout issue. And then on top of that, right, we have from an accounting professional perspective, right, we have a big deadline that's coming up in a week, and so that workload and that stress that's associated with that is certainly starting to bubble up and mount. And then on top of that, like just from a world dynamic in general, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of division, and those types of things cause additional stress. And so burnout can impact anyone, it can impact people in lots of different ways. Um, and I think that we talked through a couple of different reasons like why it's happening. Jay, do you have extra thoughts on that?
Well, I think that in a lot of cases, like for me, I'm working at home and I felt like I was trapped in my office as well. I
Mm.
got to the point where, the weekend came, I couldn't even go in my office where I do things like do
Oh
other,
yeah,
videos like this and things that I get joy out of. And,
right.
it just got to that point. It's like, yeah, I feel the walls keep coming in on me. But it's the
Mm.
fact that, you know, um, how do I put this? It's it truly got claustrophobic. And as all the other things
Mm.
were going on, it's like, yeah, just get me out of here. So,
Yeah.
my remedy to that was, and unfortunately, that week it was happening, it was like the rainiest, cloudiest week in Florida. So
Oh, I
I was
know. Yeah,
trapped
that's
inside as well. And as soon as the weather broke, I just took my butt outside, you know, and got some sunshine
yeah.
and, got out of the office. And if there was a way to move my desk and my three monitors out there, I would have.
Yeah, yeah. That is actually one of the things that I'd love to talk about and touch on, of like ways that you can help to avoid burnout, or things that you can do in advance, or things that you can do also in burnout recovery. I think you've touched on one very very real one, and that's get outside, take a walk, take a break.
Yep.
And there's a couple different factors that go into that. I think some of them are truly like physiological, like the way your body works. Because when you get up and start moving, your blood starts to pump through you, like that does impact the way that you feel. And so exercise can be a huge mood updater, mood positive mood generator. And so developing even a very very simplistic workout routine, like 10-minute walk a day, something like that. It doesn't have to be super complicated. It doesn't have to be an hour in the gym, but some kind of routine that allows you to disengage from the work that you need to do, um, and be active can be really helpful. And then separately, just disengaging generally
Yeah.
can be super helpful. So even if it doesn't involve exercise, even if it for you, Jay, like it's sitting next to your pool or sitting on the swing in your backyard, like where you may
Yeah.
not be doing any real physical activity, but you're segregating yourself from work, that can
Well,
have huge positive impacts for you. And
the other
so
thing I
as
started
a
doing
business,
though,
oh,
Chris,
go ahead.
is,
Yeah,
I look at my calendar now, and if I'm on a call where I don't need to be on my computer, I will do that call and walk. And
yeah.
so,
I think that's a great
just
idea.
going through that motion helps so much. Getting that
Yeah,
fresh air,
absolutely.
moving, get the heart racing, get the blood
Yeah,
flowing, and it just helps. And then you have a
yeah. I
conversation,
can't.
and hopefully without the camera on, because that's painful sometimes. Try to do it on phone calls when that's the case. But yeah,
Yeah. No, I think that's a great suggestion. And I can't remember who I saw talk about this before, but it's like a walking lunch almost, or just a walking check-in where
yeah,
where you're having that phone conversation with somebody that you need to be talking to them, but you don't, like you're talking about, you don't need to be in front of the computer. It's really
right.
a information download rather than a like touch and feel, see something. So that's a lovely suggestion. Um, one one other thing that can be very powerful is that in a different way as well, and that's connecting to people. And so I think again that come when we all were so segregated throughout the time of COVID, the that changed the way that people like live their lives. A lot of the things that I know that I used to do, a lot of the networking events that I attended, a lot of the groups that I went to go see, like I stopped doing them for years. And 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 if you do that and you don't focus on building relationships around you, you will find yourself in a position where you're losing that touch, and you're losing that connectivity to the people around you. And so um, putting that back in your life, making sure that you make time to connect to the people that you care about and the people around you is also a very helpful tip or trick to
Mm-hmm.
um, to work through burnout, or to help yourself to avoid that situation. Because humans are social creatures, right? We always have been interacting together, and it is how we build relationships. It's how we um, understand that. It's how we show that we care about someone, and it's also how we get that feeling of someone having an interest in us.
Yeah.
And so it can be an extremely important thing to do is to connect to the people around you as much as you can, and do that regularly. I have tried to do that actually ever since I started with High Rock, because I recognized I wasn't going to see the people that I was in the office with all the time. I have made an effort to connect to my friends as frequently as possible, even if it's just like you're talking about, a walking conversation. That can be a great way to connect to someone. Call your mom, call a buddy, call your brother or something like that, a nephew,
Mm-hmm.
whoever it might be. Connect and build those relationships around you, and that can have a huge impact on on your mood, on the way that you feel about yourself, and on your and it gives you the same break that we talked about before because
Yep.
now you're disconnecting yourself from that work product and allowing yourself to do something that's uplifting you in some other type of way. um, and I do think that that's a really important part of being a human. What other things did you do, Jay?
Well, along with the walks, I also took the dog out for walks much more often as well,
Mm,
which,
yeah,
got her a little more exercise too. And it kept her
yeah.
calm and kept her away from
Mm,
me and getting me amped up when I was trying to work. Because,
yeah,
our lab is quite active and likes to play in my office while I'm working. But the other
yeah.
thing that I try to do, which my favorite stress reliever for myself would be to hop in my Jeep, hopefully with the top off, and just drive, let the wind blow through my hair, and
Yeah,
turn up the music. You make it loud,
yeah,
and
sure. No, that
I miss it.
yeah,
That's the one thing I
yeah.
truly miss right now.
No, in Arizona or generally.
Generally,
Yeah,
I'll cover
I used
why
to.
when we talk about this upcoming week. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I definitely um used to love driving around as well. It gets real hot here in Texas, so that's a little bit more difficult to do. And I'm not driving all that much anymore because I am working here at home. So I don't drive all that much. But the past few days when the weather's been very nice, when I've gone to bowl, I'll drop the window down and just enjoy a little bit of breeze on my face. That it is truly amazing how much just a little bit of nature and a little bit of being outside can really impact you in positive ways.
Truly, truly.
Truly. Um, and then from a business owner's perspective, there's a few other things that I think are really relevant and can be really helpful things to do in advance of running into burnout, or even as just a person who works in a business. So from a workflow perspective, one of the biggest ones of those, at least if I'm thinking about an e-commerce entrepreneur, and Jay, you alluded to this before, but like delegate the tasks you don't want to do.
Yep.
Like that's a huge thing that can take a load and a burden off of you as the entrepreneur, as the person who's running the business. If you're able to delegate successfully to someone who's competent and effective at the thing that you're delegating, like that stress isn't yours anymore. Like
Right.
you need to see the final product, but you don't need to worry anymore about doing it. And so finding wonderful partners that can that can help you to do those things, or like we talked about again several episodes ago, finding effective automations that can speed up processes can be huge for helping you to minimize that stress that you're feeling in the first place. And so I think one like obviously one area where it's very relevant from our perspective is in accounting. And we've talked about this before, right? We are accounting professionals. It is what we do, it is what we're skilled at. Accounting and advisory work are really important things to businesses of all kinds. And uh, so outsourcing that work can be a huge boon to you as an e-commerce entrepreneur, or really any kind of
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur, to take a little bit of that stress away. There and then you can do the same thing for your team, right? If you find that you have team members or teammates that are overloaded, or are starting to feel the way that you did, Jay, right? Starting to take off some of that workload, starting to reallocate some of those things that other people can do as well, can be very helpful in helping to avoid that overwhelm that can come with having or feeling like you have too much to do. Um,
And
yeah, what do you
along
think about that,
those
Jake?
lines of automation, so I saw a story that said most people, including accountants, will automate the task that is transactional, but they don't automate the non-transactional enough to see the value in what they're doing with their automations.
Mm.
And you can't look at automating something as just this singular transactional, like recording your sales in Zero. There's more to automation than that. I mean, you have client comms and certain things like that where you can automate some of those. Starting to use chatbots on your website and chatbots, that communicate through uh, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc. Utilizing some
Yeah,
of
right.
those things, so you're not spending hours in front of a computer screen or your phone, even during your off hours. And then
Yeah.
you set it up by exception. Now you're going to be responding to certain requests that way. So that is really important. And the other thing that I was thinking of while you were talking was, delegation is great, but you have people that are coming to you looking for information. So, once you get out of your downward spiral and you're able to see the light, that's a great time to start mentoring and teaching others.
Mm.
And based on the questions that you've been being asked, put an FAQ together, whether it's for your team or for your customers. Push it on your
Yeah.
website, put it on your intranet or your Teams or Slack or something like that. Did I just say intranet? Really? does that does that still exist?
Put it on your internet, the intranet.
Yes.
I mean, it does. I'm
Yes.
sure. I'm sure there's spots.
So so uh, I know in the past, I when before I joined High Rock, my team was asking, they couldn't do certain things, and they keep coming to me, and I'm like, you got to find other ways of doing it. Just make me your second or third, fourth, your last resort, not your first stop. You have network with other peers. Check out Google. Look at the resources for the tools you're using, things along those
Right.
lines. And
Yeah.
by doing so, I empowered my team, and they started learning externally, and they became great employees. The internet is now a thing. It's always been. It's
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, I do. I feel like there are lots of things that you can do and lots of strategies that you can employ to help yourself in these types of situations. And it goes across your organization and truly like across your life,
yeah,
because it isn't just your organization that can be impacted. It's also your family. It's also those closest to you.
most
When
definitely.
you're feeling that overwhelmed, you might find yourself being short to people that you wouldn't normally, and you may be able to work through stress that's in your life a little bit more effectively as well if you're able to do the same in your work environment. So I
Yeah,
think
most
uh,
definitely.
I think those are definitely some really good tips or tricks as it comes to addressing and considering burnout. Um, Jay, what do you think?
So,
What else
so
is on your mind
ways
as it comes to
ways
that?
to avoid getting to that point. So,
Yeah.
you know, I always reflect back and say my biggest mistake was to not delegate early enough. And you brought a team in, and to me, I was like, all right, I'm just going to do this because it's going to take me 20 minutes to do it. And if I'm going to teach somebody how to do it, it's going to take 30 minutes to an hour. And then I'm going to have to do it again. And I'm going to have to do it again. And it's like, no, you got to look at the opportunity cost of not doing it. And,
Right.
if you gain exponentially more time back by doing it now rather than saving it and doing it and then pushing it off. Because
Right.
not only are you buying that time back, but you're also building the skills of your team. And the more they learn, the more they're going to want to learn and take off your plate. So,
Yeah.
don't wait, start delegating right away.
Yeah. I think that is definitely a very easy place to start. That and I do think it is true. What we talked about at the very beginning of incorporating breaks, incorporating segregation, incorporating exercise or activity, like those types of things, like are can be extremely powerful, just on their own too. So it's
For
very
sure.
valuable to do those things as well. um,
You said incorporate breaks. One thing that I was not doing at that point either was putting in meal breaks. I'd get to like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like I haven't had lunch, and it's like, oh, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, and now I'm hangry. So
yeah,
none
right.
of that is good. And it
No,
just doesn't work. So build those breaks into
yeah,
your calendar. Put it in there and block that time off and take it for yourself. It's important to do
yeah,
so.
yeah. I appreciate the way that our house is here because I have that opportunity that I can do that. I This is my office space, but it is on the second floor. And so if I want to go have lunch, I need to exit and go downstairs. And so I can very easily disengage from work from that perspective. Um, if there's really anything that I want to do. And then for me, it also setting those boundaries on around the edges of your day are also really important. That I found is very effective as well. If you say I'm working from this range to this range, that's when I'm going to do work. If I need to do something, I can maybe make an exception for it, but that's exactly what it is. It's an exception. It's a time where I'm making some other kind of sacrifice because I have chosen to do so, not because I felt like I needed to or something like that. And so having that segregation in my workspace and like the rest of my house is really effective for that because it allows me to say, okay, I'm leaving my office now, and that means that I'm leaving work for now. I I can come check back in if I feel like I need to, or if there was something that I needed to resolve or something I was waiting on information for. But I don't have to, and I get to make that choice, and I get to do that as I see fit, which I think is a very very valuable like boundary to have, because you setting that expectation for everyone, letting everyone understand like this is what I do, yeah, is helps you to avoid those phone calls that are outside of your working hours. It helps you to not have to worry about looking at your phone while you're having dinner. It helps you to do all of those types of things. And so boundary setting and segregating as much as you can your work from the rest of your life can also be really really helpful, I think. And Jay, I don't know if it is you or if it is a me, but I cannot hear
Yes,
you
it
right
was
now.
me. My system
All
automatically
right.
muted me there for a second. But I was going to say, those boundaries are important, especially when you have a family. You want to ensure that
Right.
you're spending time with them. And, and I don't care what it is, whether it's a meal or watching a show or
Yeah.
going for a walk, you know, that
Right.
is some of the most important time in all of your lives. Right now, my
Yeah.
daughter is a senior in high school, and this time next year, she's going to be in college. We're not going to have those
Right.
moments, so we want to make sure we get every one of them, no matter how much of a smartass
Right.
she is.
Right. I hear that, and as we've talked about, right, I'm on the opposite of an end of that journey. My daughter
Right.
she's not even 2 yet, but that means that everything that's happening right now is new. It's all like
Yep.
something different happening. I don't want to miss those things, and so it is very important for me from that same perspective to say like, this is my personal life. Being involved in my daughter's life is really important to me, and I'm going to be. And
Yep.
in setting those boundaries can be really powerful in allowing you to like I said before, to find the joy in your life and to do the things you enjoy, uh, which
Right.
which really uh, which really can be if I were to summarize like what can you do about burnout, the way that I'd summarize it is exactly that, right? Find the things you enjoy, do them, and make sure that you have joy in your life. And
Most
by
definitely.
working out a strategy to do that, um, through some of the things that we've talked about here today, can be really effective, I think. What any final thoughts on burnout, Jay?
Avoid it. Do what you can. I mean, honestly, take the time to develop a plan to avoid it. And, you know,
Yeah.
I know I have people around me that care about me and they want to know that I'm taken care of, whether it's my boss, my teammates, people around me at the firm. Everybody's
Yeah.
reaching out, making sure that I'm doing okay now. And just, lean on the people around you and say, hey, I need some space today. Still get your work done. You can still do it. Just, hey, I need to close off my communications for a little while. Turn off
Yeah.
Teams, turn off Slack, turn off your email. Get your work done and focus. And that's another good coping strategy is turn those off anyway when you're starting to feel it boiling up a little bit. Don't get those
Yeah.
distractions in, especially if you have some deliverables you got to get out. So, that's really it. Have the support of those around you. Take care of yourself. Feed yourself. Power your body. Get the energy you need. Uh, listen to podcasts. Get some education in there. Feed your mind as well. And I
Right.
think the
Yeah, I
last thing
love
I
that
want to
too,
say
Joe.
is it might not be in my Jeep. It might be in the office, but I'm still going to turn those tunes up while I'm working too. So, get that
Yeah.
in and it helps you, keep your mind, focused on what you're doing.
Yep. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, wonderful. So I think that was a really good conversation on burnout, which means it's time to get to but last. What's going on what's going on this next week? Jay,
Ah,
you're doubling down on NASCAR is what it sounds like, huh?
doubling down Saturday and Sunday. Going to
Yeah.
be there at Phoenix International Raceway. I will be pulling for Ryan Blaney, but I'm also pulling for my Arizona boy, Alex Bowman. So,
Oh yeah, there you go.
he's owed one.
Are they
He won the Daytona 500, but I'll be heading back home to Florida on Monday, and
Yeah.
from there, biggest part of my week is my Jeep has been under a recall for a battery issue, where those batteries might
Forgot about this.
spontaneously burst into flames, and I have
Sounds
an
bad.
appointment Tuesday to take care of it. And the reason I want to take care of it, as you heard, I haven't been able to take my top off because I can't park it inside my garage.
Oh,
And
right.
Florida, every morning you wake up and there's dew on your car, and you can't leave your Jeep outside with that dew. So got to deal with that. So I'm so looking forward to it. So I should get it back Wednesday night. Thursday I'll get it washed,
Yeah.
and Friday the top's coming off.
Love it.
So yeah,
That's so
looking forward
exciting.
to it. Oh
Um,
yeah,
that is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I'm excited that you'll be able to do that coming
yeah.
soon, and enjoy that the wind in all your hair. Definitely, uh, it'll be great. Is there any other news we are expecting over the next week? Any developments that are out on the horizon, or anything that we want to think about there?
Not that I'm aware. I know that there was a State of the Union address. I might have to follow up on that and see what was actually said because I heard there were some tax tidbits in there, but I don't know what they were. So I've got to follow up on that. And, hopefully the Senate will act on this tax bill and get some
Right.
relief here for these taxpayers.
Yeah, I think that would be more important than what Joe Biden was talking about in his speech. He did. There was some tax stuff. I saw that as well. It sounds like he has some interest in raising taxes for those people that are making over $400,000 and reducing them for those that are under. But as you can see with the pace of current legislation,
Yep.
might be 2032 or something before something like that actually happens. So um, I don't know that anything that shows up in the State of the Union is really worth putting too much
Right.
stock in, especially as it
I,
comes
I,
to tax reform.
I mean, at this point, the IRS is ready to act, and they're acting faster than they can set law. So set legislation,
Yeah,
which has never been the case. And yeah,
no,
that'd be interesting.
yeah, that would be interesting. So we will see how that goes and what other changes come out of that for sure.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it sounds like sounds like we don't have anything too huge, but I'm sure that by next week something will have happened somewhere that will be worth
Sure
talking
will.
about, and so we will do this again next week. Jay and I will be back here on the rocks. We will enjoy going live with you next Friday at the same time ish probably.
Same time-ish. I love it.
So thank
All
yeah.
right.
So thank you for joining us. This has been On the Rocks.
Have a great weekend, everybody.